If you've ever looked at the map of Project Zomboid, you've probably noticed it's pretty big. And in fact, it's getting bigger. Which means there are quite some beautiful things to discover all over the place.
Wow!
And that is exactly what we are going to do today. For today, we are going to look at some borderline useless facts about the map of Project Zomboid. Except that I'll exclude this part because it doesn't yet exist. In fact, it has never existed. Also Mars Ridge, you're useless and nobody likes you. Ah, that looks a lot better already. So now that I've slightly amended the map, let's get started. A big map naturally means a big amount of buildings. I should know, I once counted all houses. And long story short, there's a lot. But that is certainly not the case for every type of building. For example, I would like to call forward the schools. There are a grand total of 10 on the whole map. Now that might not sound that strange, after all some of them are pretty big. But if you contrast this with the, for example, 17 churches on the map, I hope at least some of you start to raise some eyebrows. I don't know about you, but I live in the part of my country where you would be hard pressed to find any mom and pop store open on a Sunday. And even here there are at least 3 schools for every church, or contrast it with the nearly similar 8 police stations on the map. I know the Americans love their police, at least most of them, but I sure don't hope there's as many officers as kindergartners, let alone as many as school-aged children. Although, that would explain the next fact. There are 2 libraries on the whole map. Sure, there are bookstores in most towns, where you can snag up all the books you need, but there are only 2 places that call themselves libraries, and one of them is part of the university complex, meaning that most people have access to only one. But even if you neglect that still means there are more boxing arenas in Louisville than places people can lend a book. So, that's something. On a different note, let's talk about public transportation. Whilst there are some objects that pretend to be bus stations, and even this big one that is a whole bunch of car parking spaces, but only 2 places for a bus to park, there is no actual normal-sized bus station or yard where the buses can rest for the night in the whole map. Meaning that either all buses have to come from a big city nearby, or the Louisville public transportation network is attempting to make do with a grand total of 2 buses. Which to me is a hilarious thought. And whilst we're on the topic of public transportation, trains. Besides the Louisville station, which appears to be the origin and termination point of all rail in the world, there is one whole station you can travel to using the rail network from the map. Never mind West Point being big and also perfectly lying on the route. No, the only place the train stops on the whole map is at the sad excuse of a crumbling shed Mildred calls its station. And after that the train already toughs off the map. Onwards towards new adventures. So let's see, for the whole map that's 2 plus station, very sad in terms of public transportation. And that brings us to the next fact. There's 25 gas stations on the map. Right, let's get back to some more straightforward facts. If you for some reason hate people just as much as you hate corpses chomping on your toes, you could try and live in the most remote location on the map. At least remote location in terms of furthest away from a population center. That would be this gas station with a few stores and houses. It's completely on the opposite side of the map where anything is. So I have no idea where you would ever normally visit this station. Which makes me think that this would be quite a cool location for multiplayer, maybe, to try and live out of. But if you want to be the furthest away from any type of civilization, you and your hermit attitude would love this cabin I found. There's nothing but solid forest all around on 3 sides and just one little dirt path to civilization. And before you're actually back in some semblance of town, you've probably already succumbed to hunger or something like that. Or maybe it's this one. But this shack has nothing, not even a path, so I don't think even a hermit would want to live there. If you're into drag racing, the longest straight bit of road is located here in the bottom of the map. Although if you want to hold a let's drive in a straight line contest, I recommend you keep it to this bit, as I know from experience there's basically no zombies and very few cars on the road. Of course, if you really want no obstacles on the road, you should probably choose one of the very empty countryside roads. Like, there's basically no zombies and absolutely no broken down cars. Do however watch out for corners. Farms in this game are great locations to escape the worst hordes. Just ask my good old friend Albert. But for all their farminess, the farms seem to not really have a great variety of products that they produce on their fields. The only thing produced on the whole map is grass, wheat, some more grass, and very sad and dead looking corn. There's some interesting buildings on the map, most of which you'll probably already know. Like the prison, the mall, the military base. Maybe you know of even some pretty obscure things like the Louisville nursing home or the expo center. But did you know they apparently have an animal shelter in Louisville? It's hidden over here, but does have a suspicious lack of animals. Now that I mention it, the whole game seems to be lacking on that department. And I have one more thing that I want to bring up. And it's not so much a fact as a question, which I got whilst I was doing very important counting business. And that is, what in the world is this type of building? First I thought it was a church with some weird interior, but look, here's one next to a church. There's nothing discernible about this building, and there's a non-zero amount of them. They're like almost in every town, but there's never any indication of what they are. What are you supposed to be? Answer me! And on that confusing note, I would like to leave this video. Hope you enjoyed this random hodgepodge journey across the map, and hopefully see you next week, where I will be playing one of my favorite games of all time with a little twist. Bye bye.